I learned that one is supposed to observe without judgment. And that is one of the ways to foster peace. Um, from the time you judge someone or a group of people, the first thing that they think about is to defend themselves. So in that way, you are actually creating violence if you start by judging the person. So once you start judging them, they are going to run into defending themselves. That is one of the speakers. That's what one of the speakers said. And then, if I can remember, one of the other things that was mentioned about is that for us to be able to foster peace, one of the other components we should have is empathy, that you put yourself in the person's shoes, because most of the people that we see creating violence are also having probably a reason as to why they are fighting. So to be able to advocate for peace, we are called upon to be empathetic, so that we can put ourselves in those individuals' shoes, to understand their approach towards trying to have a peace. And then maybe the other thing that I took from yesterday's debate also was about yesterday's conversation was about the difference between dialogue and debate. Okay, uh, the debate being a win-lose situation and dialogue being a win-win situation, and one being collaborative, and then the debate being oppositional. Yeah, uh, maybe somebody else can add on, but that is what one of the things that I picked from yesterday's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for summing it up. That's amazing. Okay, yesterday, basically, we talked about, yesterday, the whole day was about laying a foundation for peace, because we had sessions on the power of dialogue, youth leadership in peace building, among others. But today, after creating the awareness that we did yesterday, today we want to see how can we move forward to creating a peaceful future. So today we are shifting our focus from awareness to action. And today we are going to hear from experts and passionate individuals who will share insights on how to foster action, how to leverage technology, and how to create a peaceful future. So our first session for today is about from awareness to action, strategies for moving from peace awareness to concrete action. And this session, our guest speaker is none other than Mr. Samuel Kaye, who is an advocate for children and youth rights. He's also the head of program CYB Curious Minds Ghana. Mr. Samuel, you're welcome, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mary Joyce. And I'm pleased to be on this particular panel to share my insights on how we can move or progress from just awareness to action when it comes to peace, peace promotion. Yes, so first off, when we say peace, I know as a result of the discussions on this particular peace conference, there have been a number of insights on what people's mindset about peace is. And there have been very popular quotes. I think my dear friend who shared the highlights from yesterday actually mentioned one of them. The famous quote by both Mahatma Gandhi and then Ronald Reagan, a former president of the United States, that peace is not just the absence of war or conflict, and that it could be even the fact that one promotes it or makes the enabling environment for peace to prevail. There's been other quotes surrounding the concept or the value of peace. One is that peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. And that is attributed to Albert Einstein, a very, very famous scientist. Also, another quote says, peace is not something you wish for. It is something you make, something you are, something you do. and something you give away, which is also credited to Robert Fulghum. Then again, Marvin Gaye, who is a very, very popular human rights person, also mentioned that if you cannot find peace within yourself, you will not find it anywhere else. These are very interesting thoughts from people who are very popular regarding the concept of peace and the fact that it has been a very topical issue over the years. It has been very topical to the extent that even in the Bible, there have been various references to peace. For instance, a very, very popular one I would want to highlight is the quotation at Psalm 34, verse 14. Psalm 34, verse 14, which in its second part says, seek peace and pursue it. Seek peace and pursue it. Pursue it that maybe it's like a very prized thing somebody values so much and so would take the needed action to chase after it, to follow it because they value it very much. And that's very deep when it comes to thinking about how peace, the concept of peace, has been over the years. Now, peace itself in its nature comes in various forms, and people's analysis of how peace is can be very, very clear in their geographical context. For instance, if you happen to find yourself in a place where peace is very much promoted and people are very calm with each other, it's very likely that people who live around that place pick up that attitude and become very peaceful by nature. However, in certain instances, people find themselves in places where there is so much conflict, and so it also influences the way they are or the way they respond to the message of peace. Also, when people find themselves in a state where they've endured prolonged cases of injustice, we could refer to the early slaves who were taken to Europe and America to go and work there. A lot of people who were taken from Africa as slaves endured a lot of injustice, and so their understanding of peace could be different. I mean, you could tell somebody like that, well, seek peace and pursue it, but then considering everything they are going through, it's very difficult for them to just accept that something that generally they need to open up their hearts to. And then there are religious factors also that influence peace. For instance, we've heard of religious wars or holy wars in times past. And also we found places where people use their religious setup to promote or preach about peace. All of these affect the nature of peace and how people in general also respond to it. Now, when it comes to dissemination of peace or promoting peace in terms of campaigns, there have been various ways in which people have been going about it. For instance, through multimedia channels, a couple of people have used the power of radio, the power of TV, of social media to promote peace. It comes so much, especially in countries where there's a likelihood of violence, or maybe people anticipate some violence. For instance, in Ghana, we are in an election year, and so it's very common for you to find messages of peace being promoted through these particular channels on radio, on TV programs, and then even on social media. Then also, some organizations and individuals do public awareness campaigns in order to promote peace. And so some go into communities, gather people around, do outreach in certain places, just to find a way to get through to people, to explain the concept of peace to them and help them in the acceptance of it. Also, there have been conferences where peace have been promoted, has been a topical issue. So yes, we are talking on one such conference, which is the Peace Conference. It has been ways in which people come together with like minds to see how best the message of peace can be promoted and how well strategies can be taken in order to prevent or stop conflicts in certain places. And then we can talk about the school education as well. People within their basic curriculum gets access to education on peace. They are taught that peace, among other things, are virtues that if you want to be called a gentleman or a lady in future, you need to be a peaceful person, among other qualities like maybe being loving, being caring, being responsible. For advanced stages, we know people attend schools, especially on alternative dispute resolution and other forms of conflict resolution in order to make sure that they enhance their capacity to be able to educate others on the message of peace. And then for religions, we know some hold certain religious services. They organize conventions. It could be camps and all that. And among other things that are discussed over there, the message of peace is promoted under these certain circumstances to make sure that people have access to knowledge about peace promotion. Now, what about acceptance? How do people accept the message of peace? Certain factors that influence people's acceptance of peace could be their mindset from an early age. And so, like I mentioned earlier, some people have grown in places where they are very, very peace loving. I mean, there's a peace index, and countries within the Scandinavian region, like Norway and Sweden, rank very high in how much they're able to promote peace and maintain peace among themselves. And so, if I, an individual, is growing up in that kind of an environment, it's very likely that I won't find the concept of peace too difficult to understand and accept. I would actually be a peace-loving person. Also, people who find themselves in a state where there's been a long history of persistent violence and influences are negatively affected in their understanding of peace. So there are war-torn countries, a lot of which we are very aware of, both in Africa and in other continents. And once people grow up seeing such things, maybe seeing child soldiers, seeing rebels on a daily, and they grow up to learn that this is the reason why they were fighting, maybe over some natural resource, maybe over the way some government is run, and so they are not happy about it. They tend to also lean towards the fact that, well, in order to have something you need, you need to resort to violence rather than to peace. And so that also is a way that the acceptance of peace becomes difficult for certain people. I should also mention that some people take steps to ensure that people are educated on how well to maintain peace. And so, for instance, people engage in social and behavioral change strategies and projects to make sure they find various strategies that can help to reach out to people and change their mindsets. And that also affects the acceptance of peace. So, for instance, some people who were naturally not inclined to be peace loving, to be understanding and all, later on, with the interventions that some organizations carry out, are gradually turned. And so they get the practical value of maintaining peace. It could be that maybe an example is made that if you are not keeping the peace and you are resorting to violence, eventually, maybe in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, there wouldn't be any home to come back to, because you perpetuating violence would mean violence being gotten in return. And because of that, sadly, you'll be destroying your home, or you'll be destroying your country, or you'll be destroying your continent. That way, people learn to change their mindset when it comes to accepting the concept of peace and living a peace-loving life. But yes, having said that, what is the role community stakeholders play in promoting peace or in maintaining peace? I would use the example of interventions I have been a part of being in curious minds and also in the development space, to mention that, yes, to a very large extent, the responsibility lies on people within a particular community to tend towards the acceptance of peace. So let's say, for instance, within a community, a given community, we realize people are more prone to violence. And you would think maybe it would take the government to get down to that particular community and enforce ways in which people should maintain peace. I know when things get out of hand, at times the government resorts to, say, curfews and certain bans on public activities in order to make sure that people don't go beyond what they are supposed to be doing. But then it is very key that both traditional leaders within a particular area and stakeholders, so it could be municipal executives and government agencies within that space, should take up that responsibility. When they take up that responsibility, it's easier to channel that down to people within the community. If I am aggrieved in my community and maybe I feel picking up a machete or maybe joining a rebel group is what will solve the problem, it takes somebody very respectable who is a community leader in my area to say, no, let's not resort to violence. Let's find a very good alternative means to solving that, which would also mean that as a community leader, in order to enforce peace within your area, you as a leader should be empowered on ways in which conflicts can be resolved. It's sad to note that in times past, there were setups like that within areas where traditional rulers like chiefs were the ones who settled disputes within a community. It wouldn't even get to the law court. But sadly, because of how things have changed and because people have taken things into their own hands, that's kind of system have broken in so many places. I'm using Ghana once again as an example that it's sad to note that the chiefs are rather focusing on making money. They are focused on their economic challenges and all other things else. And because of that, they seem to have lost the trust of community members when it comes to the voice they have to promote peace among the community. And gradually, when this spreads to other communities, when this kind of cycle is being perpetuated, the sad reality is that it's difficult to continue to maintain peace in areas like that or in regions like that. That is what would mean people coming in from other agencies to try and resolve conflict. Also, I should note that, I should mention that it's very key to attack the challenge of people not accepting peace from the base. I have worked with children for a very long time. This is what's over 20 years now. Me being a child myself and then growing up through the ranks up to this stage, it is very key that young people are taught some of these things at a very early age. It is not surprising, though, that at times rebels identify these young people and try and push them into conflicts, because that is the age at which, when the minds are changed, it's difficult to readjust again. And so one thing people should be paying attention to, especially within places that are prone to violence or places that are prone to conflict, is that, yes, in as much as you engage parties within the conflict area, let the children there understand the value of peace more than anyone else, because eventually they are the ones who are going to grow up and take up the mantle. If they know how to handle issues very responsibly and professionally without having to resort to violence, and they understand the reason why it has to be so, it is very key here. Our education system usually focuses on packing knowledge into your head, and that is it. You need to pass an exam with it. No. They should understand the practical value of what they are learning. And in this case, or I'm zeroing it down to peace, if children do understand why it is very important for them to maintain peace wherever they are, it's much easier to find yourself in a situation where gradually maybe places that are prone to conflict would have that kind of challenge subsided. So yes, it is very good that organizations, individuals, and governments are involved in various ways of promoting peace and advocating about it. But also, we shouldn't forget that in order for our efforts not to go to waste, to be driven into the wind, we target these areas. One, religious setups. A lot of people are very religious. I'm once again talking about where I'm coming from. If we are channeling these kind of values within the religious setup, making them understand it like they would if they were to attend school, that helps. In the community, if the community leaders, the chiefs, the government agencies within a community do understand the ways in which peace is promoted, they understand alternative dispute resolutions and all that, it is much easier to promote that within communities. And then finally, making sure that within a given setup, within a country, within a state or a continent at large, so yeah, not just Africa, but in other places, the law works. The law should work. A lot of people are driven to conflict, not because they love conflict, but because trying to seek redress from the law, trying to seek justice from the law doesn't help. And so no matter how much you continue to preach them, no matter how much you continue to engage them on ways in which they should maintain peace, they feel helpless, they feel powerless in terms of injustices they face, and eventually end up resorting to violence or conflicts. So yes, the law, religious setups, and then community setups should all join hands and help us make peace, one that is very topical and promoted among ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel, for giving us those practical strategies on how we can be able to successfully transform or transition from just awareness, but to action. And you mentioned something to do with creating awareness in conferences, and that's the very major reason as why African Young Leaders Foundation organized this conference, to highlight the role of young people in all this. So thank you so much for that wonderful session. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a performer tonight. I'm delighted to say that we have a performer, so I'm ready to dance or swing on the mood, on the melodies. Performing Uganda's peace song titled "Uganda is Bleeding" by Ilan Kitty is Mr. Emmanuel Maleka Simba. Mr. Emmanuel, take it away. I think Mr. Emmanuel is still setting up. Mr. Emmanuel, we are waiting to dance.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Mary Grace Takali. I'm going to put on my camera. I was still setting up, but I think I'm ready. The next 1 minute, if you don't mind. I don't know if I'm visible right now.
Yes, you are.
Am I?
Yes,
Very
please.
much visible. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to share a song. I see everyone is excited.
Yeah, we are ready to groove.
So, okay, so this song, I would like to give a brief. This is a Ugandan song to which I contributed because the performer or the original artist is my is my old boy from high school. So we started from the same school. And I'd like to share that 5 years ago, we had this idea to think about a situation in Uganda and how we can promote peace and build peace among ourselves in Uganda. Because we all know that there has been a political quagmire of recent in Uganda. So it has been so much consistent from way back. And that's what inspired this song to come to play. So I'm going to share the song in the next 1 minute, and then you guys are going to enjoy it. I hope you do. Yeah, most of the words are in English, so worry not. You're going to understand each and everything. There is just one part that is in Luganda, and Luganda for those of us who are outside Uganda, Luganda is like the commonest local language used here. So here goes a song. Can you hear the song? Hello.
Not yet, not yet.
Okay. 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 I think the volume is a problem. Yeah, you cannot hear.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go. That's like an introduction. So this song is gonna take us into a mood of peace building. It's unfortunate that I can't project the video, but if you can go to YouTube, you're typing Uganda is bleeding by Klein Boy. The way you get your history, the two of us amazing. Used to hear stories, and now I see the reality. Why is heaven dark? Why was? Why taking us the same and it's time like fire to devil cheese? Rather than this is a bleeding, I don't know the problem. Everyone is looking for right every time. This is not a movie, not a play, not a drama. This is down to my heart, like killing them up before the time, my leaders with the cooking on. This is all the things that is the one we go to follow. A prayer is put on, I know my God is not dead. He's crazy, this is not what we meant to be. Not the rest of the but come on with the party. You're making it is out, but you know we need change. Now it's for the people, but people are never hard. Why you need to make a just recording you a fool again? Baby Jaja, you're the last you. If you never give up, we come to you. Only you can change this world. Cause your hand is a blessing. Young people die cause of the crisis. Only you, only you, only you. Change the world. Oh, when you want me sing now. We live in everything to die. If this is what you call it. Oh, Uganda is free. We live in everything to die. If this is what you call it. Oh, Uganda is free. We live in everything to die. If this is what you call it. Oh, Uganda is free. We live in everything to die. If this is what you call it. Oh, bakulembera badde busuubu twavuganya abanikyamerako batuukivu kati mutukyaya uganda mutuyisanga batu maama yadda mu kyalo nsolo gwe gwamukamula naye ne byeyatuuka akimanya agula ezigulako okulya kimu kyenzuzukira nti ne maama yaganda bwe yali asinga okuwagira naye kati gwe yeefuma wakanda kiki ekiri mu uganda baby Jaja, you're the last yo. Yeah. Them say never give up, but we can't do it. Now from far. And for Uganda, it's going independence in 1962. I never seen to go to president who has been with us for over 40 years. A lot of sins. country like that, we've had a lot of problems and a lot of improvements, but we need more peace in this country. We need to start fighting each other because we are one person. I mean, we are one people under the same skin color. So there's no reason why those who think have power to use it against the citizens of the nation. Because if we don't have people in the nation, then it's an information. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And this is what this song is all about. We should stop all the bloodshedding. We should stop all the conflicts based on political parties. And my dream is one day we have one political party as Africa at large. Yeah, so for God and my country, that is my Ugandan motto. That's my country motto for God and my country. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the song. And I would have wished to give us more. But for now, in the interest of time, let's have that for now. Thank you all. I remain Emmanuel Maleka Simba, the head of Health Department, African Young Leaders Foundation, based in Uganda. I'm not an artist. I'm actually I've just concluded my master's of science in pharmaceutical analysis, and I'm awaiting graduation in October. So thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malik. Only you can change this world. That's all I got. Well, if you need this song, you can go to your YouTube and search for Uganda is Bleeding if you need to groove on it more. Thank you so much, Mr. Maleka, for that wonderful performance and presentation. We really, really, really appreciate you. That is Mr. Maleka there, who is the head of Health Department, African Young Leaders Foundation. Now, I would like us to move to the next speaker. And I would like to say that in today's digital age, technology has the power to connect communities and build bridges across borders. So this helps to facilitate tolerance and understanding among diverse groups. Our next speaker is Mr. Lopil Babel Silva, who is going to speak about how we can leverage technology to foster a culture of peace and tolerance among diverse communities. Mr. Lopil Babel is a peace builder and a youth advocate and also a community influencer. Mr. Lopil, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Can I share the screen, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, please, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think, as you said, I'm called Lopir, but my nickname is called Abel. I'm very known by that name, so ignore the official names for other purpose. And thank you for the opportunity. And I'm presenting about the digital peace building, which is much focusing about how we can utilize technology to foster culture of peace and tolerance among different communities. Of course, today is an International Peace Day, so it's an essential element to discuss such great anecdotes that surrounds the discussions of technology and peace building among different communities. So first of all, I would like to start by giving this clear definition, like what is digital peace building. Perhaps most people are aware of this, but I just want to say that technology is a general it's an abstract term that is used. And perhaps in the 21st century, we use technology in different ways. And first, in peace building area, we use it for prevention. That means as much as possible, we try to use different, especially in early warning systems, preventing conflict from happening or even mitigating issues that are trying to turn into violence. So we can also use it for managing conflict, the existing conflict in a society, either armed and unarmed conflict. So we can use technology in different perspectives to manage this kind of conflict. And definitely we can use them as well as for resolving conflict in our society, because there are tools, and this is an avenue that we can articulate issues in cheaper manner and also in affordable way. Many people from different communities, diverse communities, black, white, yellow, whatever the case, they can come together and resolve conflict. For example, if there is already existing conflict between societies, let's say, then you'll be able to articulate it using mediation methods and many others. Well, I want to take you through like how do we leverage then technology for peace building and tolerance. First of all, there are three key elements I would like to highlight. First is inclusion. And many people might think that inclusion is a very essential element, including myself. I love this inclusion. That means people coming from different backgrounds, poor, rich, or whatever the case, either black, white, different races, and many others. We need to include. And when you talk about inclusion, we need to promote democratic environment where political rights are heard or discussed in a very democratic manner. And we also need to connecting with people. Connection is very essential, and technology is the biggest data that we can use to connect people, either in the global south or in the global north. So we can connect the people, like, for example, now we are living in different parts of the world, but we are utilizing technology to connect and share great elements of peace building on this special day. So connection is very important. And of course, we collaborate. Collaboration comes here when we highlight things to do with agencies, organizations, civil society, and others. They connect with the shared elements of peace building that they're doing, the outreach in different parts of the communities, and share the greatest success that they have contributed in this field of technology and peace building. So connection is a very good element. Share what you have done, and what is quite challenging, that we can draw different anecdotes that we can use for articulating it. So I will explain further maybe in the next slides. So I highlight here that there are different approaches that we can use. For example, we can use things to do with early warning system. Of course, early warning system in technology comprise or calls tools such as tools, for example, for internet, and we collect data, particularly data. You can collect data and people report issues and monitor. For example, on Facebook, social media, people can detect like hate speeches, different disagreements, for example, and then several measures can be adequately taken to prevent those kind of things, because most of the time now, many people use social media for hate speech and many others. For example, in South Sudan, there is an organization called Defy No Hate. Defy No Hate in South Sudan uses this kind of opportunity to demystify misinformation and all others. So in a manner that you can see a lot of people texting and all that. So we try to take appropriate measures, both the organizations and the government, to suppress the surface of the conflict that is emerging to blow up. So we can also use crowdsourcing, for example, such Usahindi in Kenya, for example, people report in remote areas, both urban areas, they can report to these websites and all that, and people see the progress and how, in this manner, that people are responding to conflict and how these different other things can be done. So, and last is AI, artificial intelligence is very important in trying to be a very good avenue for analyzing and predicting conflict. Yeah, so we can use a lot of things. For example, satellite, most advanced countries and some semi-advanced countries as well use this. For example, during wars moment, for example, right now in Gaza, there are a lot of drones on top display to see a lot of things that are happening. And these satellites can be used for programming what can be done in order to respond to conflict or armed conflict in different parts of the world. So they are very essential as strategies for government, NGOs, and agencies to respond in which activity is appropriate for a particular armed conflict in which geographical location. Then to continue, I would like to say that one major element for technology leverage is data gathering and conflict monitoring. And this involves here, of course, using high tech to collect data. Collecting data is not only about research. You can use different methods to collect data, definitely, and respond to these kind of issues appropriately. And after collecting data, you analyze, for example, it's a research-based collection of data, really like using devices such as mobile phones, such as for example, applications. We use application perhaps if different type of application, youth opportunities application, dating applications, and other applications exist. There are also applications that can be used for tracking information that are related to peace building and these kind of areas. And it can also be used for, of course, Twitter. And most of you who are aware with this kind of things, YouTube is now a very major useful tool for data gathering. If you just need something these days, you just have to go to Twitter. For example, those of you who are in Kenya, you know how Twitter is very influential in Kenyan politics. So it's easy to know. You don't need even to go to ground when you're collecting kind of data or trying to track what are really trends of conflict in Kenya. So you just have to go to Twitter and you read tweets. What kind of content do these people tweet? And go to the comment sections of the tweets. You perhaps get to know the griefs between those different societies. For example, in terms of political arena, you can really easily find out like, oh, there is dichotomy in this society when it comes to political discussions. So these people say this and these people say this. So you can find them on Twitter. By the way, the recent conflict in Kenya, protests in Kenya was all planned on social media, perhaps. And you could really see what will happen in the next day on Twitter. And of course, Facebook is used also by many other people, so we can really try to monitor and gather data on this, especially for peace building purposes, prevention. Crowdsourcing, like I said, mentioned, but here I will not see that much. Reporting incident of violence is quite important in this kind of thing. It helps us to fill the gap between what the government can do and what other sectors can do, non-governmental sectors, for example, NGOs and UN organizations. So, like in major developing countries, government do not have capacity or they are reluctant to not have that capacity to articulate issues. Or perhaps there are countries that are lagging behind the technology, so quite challenging for them to know what is happening, especially in remote areas. But because of this kind of opportunity, people can try to use other digital or semi-digital tools to collect this data and respond using the crowdfunding, using other resources from international organizations, also agencies like the UN, because some governments are not capable. Let me use that way. Of course, government's reports are very essential, either annually, yearly reports, and also NGOs. NGOs are spies and the eyes of everything. They put everything, reports on the internet, and definitely you can really find it. And any decision you want to take, you can always have it powered because the data is available. Another point is digital storytelling and reconciliation. So the technology can help us to bring in issues of digital storytelling and reconciliation. First of all, is to establish things to do with empathy, we need like stories, people coming together. For example, I have stories experiencing for example, a conflict in a particular part of the country, let's say in South Sudan. So me telling my stories and uploading to YouTube give access to many listeners in different parts of the world. They can see what stories I'm sharing. That means the more I get digital opportunities to share my stories, I create that healing to myself and also inform public on really issues that are ongoing in different parts of the world. So technology helps reach one story, millions people, billions people can be reached, and impact are very great. So, for example, some of you listen like podcast, listen like a lot of bloggers. So they share these kind of stories. In a case like Rwanda, Rwanda has been really like a very good country in kind of trying to showcase how we can always, as much as possible, to learn reconciliation avenues, or South Africa using digital avenues, for example. Yeah. So you can find these things in archive. If you go to, if you go to memorials in Rwanda, you can find these kind of things because this is something that we use it. They are maintained using technology. And therefore, maintaining them does not mean anything. It means them to educate the future generations and also inform people. And therefore, the end point is that we move toward the peace building issues. And it also help us keep cultural memory, we must know like what happened, this is what happened. It was either good or bad. In that manner, in terms of violence, in history of violence, definitely it can be considered as bad. So we get to acknowledge that we made mistakes in this area, and therefore we are responsible to correct the future, using different avenues. For example, we have to educate people, include things in the syllabus, digital syllabus, and teach students on memory of this country of conflict so they will be able to get informed and become good citizens or peace contributors in the world. And from that angle, we can see that technology helps try to accelerate process of like a generational learning and maintenance of very great information in digital archives. Oh, something, I don't want to explain more things because I know also time is not my best ally. So, but without just discussing all those things, but I also need to acknowledge that there are a lot of puzzling nuances that I would like to give out some novel ideas that we can also experience challenges. It's not like, oh, this is a rocket science, it's going to work so much. Well, we have to acknowledge that there are a lot of political interference. Political and non-stable political environment can interfere with this digital technology. I mean, like digital peace building process, because they can control the data. Perhaps for example, in the authoritative kind of government, they sometimes have this collusion. They divide the society is divided. For example, in some other countries, NGOs are looked at people, like agencies or civil societies that are pro-people. And perhaps the government are suspicious of the work they do. So in this way, some data process is really interfered, and therefore they cannot be used for purposive intention. So one thing is that although we say that digital issues is very essential, we need to reflect that the world is really unbalanced in a manner that there is developed or global south and the global north. So in the global south, there are a lot of countries that do not have this kind of capacity. People cannot access even Facebook, others. So they will not even be able to read and write some of these things. Perhaps population cannot even use smartphone, as you know. So it impedes the progress of tracking conflict or violence in those kind of areas. It's also a challenge that because this digital peace building really relies the only medicine, like for example, is it's only technology. Without technology, you can't really perhaps do any other thing. So it becomes only a tool in a very successful environment where countries have high advanced technology kind of service infrastructure. So it's also expensive since people somewhere in part of the developing countries, are struggling to have food on the table. So perhaps having smartphones, having applications for tracking all this, it's none of their business. Perhaps their first need is food. So this is a secondary factor, Yeah, so these are some of the key issues I try to highlight so that you can be able to know this is not like a rocket science phenomena or novel ideas that can work effectively. But however, I want to conclude that digital peace building is a great avenue for the young people, because if we talk about the young people, we are the majority, perhaps. And if we are the majority, we can leverage, because we are the same people that are available on internet, writing a lot of hate speeches, propaganda, and all that. And those kind of propaganda are used by a particular set of group of people to create conflict in the environment, which disrupt the process of peace building. So we can create this environment and change the narratives, building trust in our communities. For example, bridges. We need to create bridges by writing good narratives and trying to speak what is really good for building peaceful society. And the key focus is three things that I explained before, is to connecting people without any boundary, either African, either non-African. That is it. That's why this AYLF can bring all people from different parts of the world. Or there are many other organizations, for example, UNITAR and many others, young organizations, or even organizations that are focused to build young generation for the purpose of impacting knowledge to them, purposely for peace building purpose. So it's very inclusive, and we need collaboration as well, because one side of the world is progressing and the other one is not progressing, it doesn't work. We need effort, we need connections, we need to use it because it's cheap, so we can connect easily, go online, and many people, we don't have to pay flights to go to different parts of the world to experience this kind of thing. However, it comes with a great challenge and balance of logical infrastructure. As you know, the West could be the best or the best in terms of infrastructure development. So, like technological infrastructure development. So, and also the East as well. And unlike the developing part of the world. So I highly recommend that the best approach to digital peace building is using the hybrid means. So for example, you use face-to-face to leverage the connection, tolerance among the young people. At the same time, you can also incorporate this beautiful, inexpensive approach of digital peace building. That comes to an end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abel, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you for showing us that technology and the digital world can be a force for the good for the whole of Africa. Now we had a performer who was going to give us a poem, but I'm not seeing him in the house. So as we wait for him, allow me invite the next speaker, who is going to speak about the future of peace, how youth-led initiatives are contributing to a sustainable future of peace for Africa. And this is none other than the powerhouse, Ms. Fatuma Ramadan, who is a journalist, and the founder of Dada Yangu organization. Ms. Fatuma Ramadan, please take us through your inspiring work and the vision for the future of peace in Africa. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
How is everyone? Thank you so much. It's amazing how technology works. We are literally from different parts of the world, but yet we are here connected. My name is Fatuma Masare Ramadan. As she said, I'm a journalist. a social entrepreneur, and also the founder and executive director of the Dayangu organization. So I'm gonna take you guys through I'm not able to share my screen for reasons I don't know, because I'm using my phone to do this presentation, and I'm using my computer to take you through this presentation. So it's going to be the future of peace, how to use youth-led initiatives for sustainable peace. So I'm going to quickly start by introducing you guys to what sustainable peace is. And sustainable peace refers to a long-term and lasting state of peace that goes beyond merely ending conflict. It also involves creating conditions for social justice, stability, and development, so that the root causes of conflict, such as poverty, inequality, and injustice, are addressed and do not reemerge. So some of the countries that are experiencing they don't have peace in their countries right now is, to name a few, Republic of Congo, our neighbors, Yemen, Afghanistan for a very long time, Haiti. Even the president of Kenya had to send some of our soldiers to Haiti to help them in the fight. So it's a blessing if in your country you guys have peace at the moment. So the key elements of sustainable peace are inclusive governance, obviously, to ensuring that all the groups in the society have a voice in the decision-making process, and also social justice, which is addressing the issues like poverty, discrimination, and equality to prevent grievances that could lead to conflict. Economic stability, providing opportunities for livelihood and development that help communities thrive. The rule of law and human rights, establishing and enforcing laws that protect individuals' rights and ensure justice. Also, reconciliation and healing, promoting understanding and healing after conflicts to rebuild trust and social cohesion. A country that went through genocide like Rwanda, they had to go through this process of reconciliation and healing. So sustainable peace is proactive, not just reactive, aiming to create a society where peace is maintained and conflict is prevented over the long term. Also, I'm going to speak about how to use youth-led initiatives for sustainable peace. Youth-led initiatives like Africa Young Leaders Foundation and my organization, the Dayangu. So one of the things we can do is by empowering youth through education. Like we said, education is what makes us all equal. You see, there's a time I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was telling them, even if your parents die today and they give you money for inheritance, you will blow up the money in 1 year and you'll be back to being broke. But education stays with you forever. So the best inheritance your parent could give you today is education. So by empowering youth through education is addressing the barriers of education. That is economic challenges. In many regions, especially in rural and marginalized areas, like the place that I come from, called Kilifi County, Kenya, poverty prevents families from affording school fees, uniform, and even education supplies. So the government needs to take care of that. Also, cultural barriers, early marriages, gender discrimination, and traditional beliefs often prevent girls from accessing education. Infrastructure issues, lack of schools, inadequate facilities, and long distances to schools further hinder access to education. The host is out. Anyway, we could continue. By creating educational opportunities, like the Dayangu, at the Dayangu organization, we have the initiative called Elimu ni Sasa, which means education is now, which provides scholarships and mentorships for girls facing financial barriers at school. We also have the Crochet Academy, which teaches girls crochet and life skills, offering a platform for economic empowerment and creativity. And we have the Part for Her initiative, which provides sanitary products, and menstrual health education, ensuring girls don't miss school due to lack of resources. Also linking education to economic independence by skill training, using entrepreneurship programs, and also partnerships with local businesses and other community-based organizations or NGOs. Also, there's the importance of promoting STEM education, encouraging girls and young women to engage in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects. There's these stereotypes that women are not so good in maths. I don't believe in that. So there's an importance for us to be able to promote STEM education. Also incorporating peace education, which is conflict resolution trainings, human rights education, and civic education. Leveraging technology for education, digital classrooms using tablets. We were introduced to that in 2021 in Kenya. So digital classrooms using tablets, smartphones, and computers to provide access to online learning resources, especially in areas with limited school infrastructure. E-learning platforms, community radio and social media, utilizing radio and social media to disseminate educational content, promote campaigns, and engaging the youth. Also, impact educated youth on peace building, reducing vulnerability to extremism. Education equips young people with critical thinking skills, reducing susceptibility to extremist ideologies, promoting social cohesion. Educated youth are more likely to understand and appreciate diversity, in reducing ethnic and social tensions. Another thing we can do is by engaging the youth in dialogue and leadership, which is inclusive platforms for dialogues, and also including youth representation in decision making, and capacity building for leaderships, peer-to-peer mentorship programs, and youth-led advocacy campaigns. We can also use promoting mental health and emotional resilience, which is by educating the youth on mental health awareness campaigns, by counseling them and offering support systems, incorporating mental health education in schools, which is something that we've really been fighting for. Let's have an office for a mental health educator, so that when someone is struggling with mental health or mental sickness, which is a taboo topic in African homes, they should have that place where they can go and express themselves. Also, training peer counselors, me being one of them. I feel like a lot of us really require that training. Equip young people with skills to act as peer counselors, providing immediate support and guidance to their peers in schools and communities. Also promoting mindfulness and self-care. Encourage practices like mindfulness, meditation, and physical activities that help youth manage stress and build emotional resilience. Go out, go to the gym, work out, do yoga if you need, so that you can be able to rest. Also, we can use youth-led environmental initiatives as peace-building tools. Like in Kilifi, we have a program where we plant mangrove trees. So we will meet every Saturday to plant mangroves. And a number of youth will come out, and we connect in those. In every time we meet, we connect with each other, because it's always new people coming. So we can use such initiatives as peace-building tools. And my first point was reforestation and the sea planning projects, and also community cleanups and waste management. Like today, I missed out on beach cleanup. So we do that a lot of time. I'm from Mombasa. Mombasa is the coastal part of Kenya. So we oftenly have beach meetups and cleanups where we just organize cleanup drives and recycling initiatives to promote environmental stewardship and foster community unity and pride. Also, sustainable agriculture and livelihood programs. We train youths in sustainable farming practices to enhance food security, reduce poverty, and mitigate tensions over scarce resources. Another thing is climate change awareness campaigns, something that I've really been interested in learning, which is climate change. It is not as simple as it is. Climate change is just a vague word, but there's a lot in climate change. So also educate communities on the impacts of climate change and advocate for environmental policies that promote resilience and peace. Water conservation and management, implement projects focused on water conservation and access to clean water, addressing disputes over water resources, promoting cooperation. Using technology for peace. One of the things I must say, I always like saying is, it's really amazing how technology works. I'm literally in Mombasa, Kenya, and someone else is in Congo right now, or Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, listening to me. We are literally connected over technology, and we can use such platforms as a peace building tool. And one of the things I was going to talk about is using digital platforms for dialogue. Like right now, if we had a conflict, it was easy. It's going to be easy for us to do like a conference call and solve our issues. So use social media, blogs, and forums to foster conversations, share ideas, and connect youth across different communities and cultures. I remember my friends from Nigeria and Ghana, they were calling me during that time when in Kenya the Gen Zs were doing, we were demonstrating, and people would be asking me, are you guys okay in Kenya? Are you okay? Are you safe? So you see how technology has really connected us. Also, countering misinformation. Develop online campaigns to debunk false news and hate speech, promoting accurate information and peaceful narratives. Sometimes a poster might come out today, and then the next time you see the same exact poster with something written on top of it, fake. So as a youth, I feel like it's your responsibility to do that. If you see somewhere there is some fake news, it's your responsibility for you to debunk that. Say, no, this is not right, this is fake. And also use your time to confirm if something is true before you share it on WhatsApp or on any social media platforms, before it gets to a wider reach. Also, peace building apps and games for those people who are into animation and software building. This is one for you. Creating interactive apps and games that teach conflict resolution skills, empathy, and collaboration in a fun and engaging way. Yesterday, for those people who joined yesterday, we were talking about empathy and also virtual peace education, this being one of them. Offer online courses and webinars on topics like human rights. One of us has their mic on. Can they please turn it off? Okay, yeah, thank you. Let's continue. So offer online courses and webinars on topics like human rights, conflict resolution, and leadership to reach a wider audience. And crowdsourcing solutions. Utilize technology to crowdsource ideas and resources for community projects, engaging youth in solving local issues and local issues collaboratively. So, like how you see, like when you log on to LinkedIn right now, you will see like so many communities that you can get connected to and engage, and also you can learn from other organizations and people who are doing the same thing that you are, because promoting peace is not just my responsibility, but it's a responsibility of everyone, every youth in Africa, every youth in this continent. So as we celebrate the International Day of Peace today, I urge each one of you to take action in your own communities, whether through dialogue, education, or advocacy. Let's continue to build bridges and create a more peaceful world together. Thank you so much and have a wonderful International Day of Peace. I'm welcome to how does empathy promote peace? So Yeah, let me answer that one really quick. Yeah. So empathy is when you know when you have the ability to feel sorry for another person. How does it promote peace? If I'm able to feel empathy for my neighbor, then it's easier for me to not cause trouble for them. I don't know if I've answered that one. Great. I'm literally in the chat box right now. So if you have a question, you can write it on the chat box, or you can have I'm literally the host now. Or you can have your mic on, and then we can answer the questions as we continue.
Yes, just like you said, I've given you the mic. Anyway, let's welcome anybody else who has a question for Miss Fatuma or Miss Abel or Mr. Samuel. Let's have those questions. If you want to ask the question, kindly raise your hand and unmute yourself. Any other question? Any other question? Going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, I think we don't have questions.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mary Takali, for the wonderful work, and also my great gratitude to all the speakers for very insightful and practical information that they have shared with us. But I have learned a lot from the discussion, and I have a few questions to all of the speakers. My first question goes to the current speaker, who is Ms. Fatuma. I enjoyed your presentation and looking at the issues that you have raised on how we can at least endeavor to work there to promote sustainable peace. For instance, talking about through dialogue, through leveraging on technology, or doing peace education, so on and so forth. These are very important things, but looking at our current curriculums, peace education is not really the focus, and most of the times even the citizenship education, which most of African countries have in their educational curriculum, also takes minimal part to explore the concept of peace. So you as a journalist, if you have the floor, what policy changes will you recommend to the big men in position, and what practical initiatives can you also provide to young peace builders who may be interested in starting peace education at the younger, at the primary level, or at the with children, and also getting to youth? Because if we want to achieve sustainable peace, I believe we can do our part, but the younger generation needs to be oriented in it before we can have a sustainable peace. So thank you. And after I will ask the other question, or can I ask all of them? Then they may be reflecting on what do you think, Miss Mary? I'm saying that should I go ahead with the other questions to the other speakers?
Yeah,
or
sure. I don't know where Mary is, but yeah, sure. You can ask all your questions and then we can answer them and then go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then my next question goes to Mr. Lopiu Babel. Just mentioned that Mr. Lopiu, who mentioned about technology and peace building. And in fact, there are so many hate speeches on social media. And if we look at the internet now, particularly when we log into our social media platform, what sells or videos that goes viral a lot are those that don't have, let me say, I don't want to use the word negative, because those are content that many of us engage or love to watch. Those content don't really preach anything, but you find it has a lot of engagement, it has a lot of views compared to the ones that are really communicating sense or preaching about positive things. So now, how do we filter such information as young people who are using internet, and because some of us we just log in into Facebook or any other social media platform, pick any information, then we start using them. But how do we now ensure that these informations are from right sources and these are the content we should follow? And another thing that I was also expecting from your presentation is ADS. They use kind of algorithm to target particular people, and you find that some ADS that are being promoted has negative content and it targets people, and it's easy to attract, or it's easy to allow somebody to go inside. So how do we also deal with such information on social media, particularly ADS, and how can we filter good information and so on? And which technologies do you suggest that we should be more often than not be used when we are working on peace? I believe social media is one platform which is good, but it has negative aspect. So, and the next question to Mr. Samuel goes on the fact that he's talking about peace as an daily thing that we can live, and he mentioned a lot of practical things, and I love the quote that he also stated. But now my greatest concern was on the fact that we as a young people, most of the times we think about peace as, or maybe when we hear peace organization, we only see peace as people who are doing charity activities or people who are engaged in supporting vulnerable groups, which is one aspect of peace. But in terms of other ethics, like personal ethics, there are people who are very good in generosity, but at the same time, when they go to their working environment, they collect bribe, they do other injustices against people, but they come back and give some of the bribe money as charity, so on and so forth. So how do we also, what advice will you give to young people, and how can we balance such situation with our daily peace building in terms of practical peace building initiatives or practical steps that we can take to build peace? I believe these are the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll start with you, Ms. Fatuma, then we'll go to Mr. Abel, and lastly, Mr. Samuel will answer. Thank you.
And so if I remember quite well, his question was how we can start conflict resolution in for the younger generations, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. I actually remembered that. So I feel like one of the things that we need to do is the curriculum that we have in our schools right now is math, English, just normal subjects, sciences, but we don't have anything to do with peace and how to solve conflicts. So I would say we should start by using promoting volunteerism. As a youth, are you in any community-based organization or on any NGO, or are you a Rotarian? Are you a Rotaract, or are you involved in any organization in your community? I feel like that's one. You should be able to join any a volunteer for any organization. That way, you can be part of the decision making when it comes to creating policies. So if we were to introduce such an activity in school, let's say we have PE, but instead of the kids going for PE, let's teach them about conflict resolution. Are you going to be a part of that? So first things first, as youth, we need to promote volunteerism, and also you have the responsibility as a big brother, or as a brother, as a cousin, as an uncle, to educate the people who are young to you, educate your younger siblings, educate the kids of your neighbors on how to teach, also teach conflict resolution skills, and school programs that focus on communicating and empathy and negotiation. Another thing is using media. You don't have to physically go to a school to promote peace. You can use a social media account, use Twitter account to tweet something positive. if I was to open a Twitter account today, one of the things that Elon Musk is going to ask me is the kind of content I want to subscribe to. So they will show you, they will ask, do you like art? So art, culture, politics, football, and then you click on the kind of content that you want. So when you join the app, they will show you the kind of content that you want to see. So if you're on your social media and you're seeing a lot of negative content, then it's because of you yourself. You subscribed to that content, and that's why your For You page or your explore page is showing you that. So start by not liking those negative comments. If you see something negative on your explore page, or if you see something on your For You page, don't like it. And then if you don't interact with it, it's not gonna be shown on your social media. And then start liking more the content that you like to see. If you like to see things to do with politics, start liking more about politics. If you want to see a lot of advocacy work, start liking so many posts about advocacy work. And the app itself is going to start showing you the content that you like so much by default. Also, another thing, yourself, you need to create a safe space. On If you are a friend and two of your friends fight, they need to be able to know that we can go to this person and our problems are going to be solved. So you need to be able to create a safe space among yourselves. And also conflict resolution programs, implement peer mediation programs in school to empower students to solve conflicts among themselves. So I feel like it's time for us to start acting. Let's take this opportunity to start creating programs that are going to promote peace and conflict resolution.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fatsuma, for that wonderful reply. Mr. Abel, can we have you reply to Mr. Kofi's question? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kofi. I'm not sure if I get your second question, but let me first respond to the first one. I think as you have noticed enough, if you've been using social media, there is perhaps some other changes in terms of framework, legal framework and regulations on social media. Before you click content, there are a lot of warnings that comes along. So perhaps these are some of the progress that has been done. And the most important thing is that these regulations are geographical context. So there are some other countries that do not take into considerations the importance of this kind of regulations. For example, the content people consume. Why people consume those kind of content? These are the kind of research that we need to encourage. And instead of saying young people are consuming negative content, we need to ask, why are young people consuming this kind of content? Reason as to why is that because of this and this. Then we can use those kind of research-based evidence to provide solution. Perhaps these people are very idle. When they get the bundles, they don't have jobs, so they just go to those ones. Perhaps they want something they can entertain themselves. So perhaps they want something which is non-educative, or because of their level of education as well. So those kind of things are very important to put as a key issues. I know there are many, but the most important is, I think education awareness is the most important. And it's not like I want to take this as a very important issue. You know, education is generally an issue that exists in every country. But what quality of education is what we need to question. That learners, youth get. Sorry, I think. Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes,
Yes, please.
Yeah, we need to question the type of education that people really consume. So, and if it is really like a very skilled education that people can come out from school and apply it, then definitely. If it is the education we still count the legs of the butterflies, then definitely we need to we'll think about that very well. Peace education, in my opinion, is very important. And if any country that invests in peace education is likely going to reap the progress of peace building. And peace education doesn't start right away from secondary, it starts away from the beginning. So updated curriculum must be included in areas to do with, even in STEM. For example, those of you who have been maybe have taken courses of peace education, this is one of the highly debated area that even in mathematics science must include the pillars of peace building, because we need to train and disseminate this kind of information to all people, because the society need these people. As you know, peace is not everything, but without peace, nothing exists at all, even science and these other things. So it's very important also to clearly understand that accountability for individual wrong is important in every society. You don't do a wrong and you go unpunished. It doesn't work. So that means that people will violate the law and things continue to do like that. So, for example, it shouldn't be like restrictive. Of course, social media comes with their own restriction. They also have benefits, like they are business oriented. So yeah, young people must be really accountable and transparent as well of what they do with their social media, because nobody comes to your house and say, this is what you're supposed to do. It's perhaps the education that you get that will help you to do what's the right thing for you. Like I just wanted to highlight some very small issues that my sister Fatima said. For example, in these workshops are very important. Of course, these are more practitioner kind of thing. I don't really subscribe that much. Of course, there are a lot of workshops become a business for NGOs to do workshops here and there, eat money, and things continue to be like that. But definitely we need to upgrade and think about what kind of workshop we really do. So what impact do this workshop have in really in our internal society, you know, in terms of how youth are using this kind of media. Perhaps we need to ask more advanced manner that how we can approach this kind of fictitious issues that exist in our societies. So we need to encourage youth to become really positive content creators, you know, positive content creators in a manner that if they engage in sharing content that has positive messages, perhaps many people will get interested and get empowered to do a lot of good content. For example, I think Kenya is doing well in terms of content creation. Of course, even if there is money is a motivational factor, but there are a lot of people getting a lot of inspirational stories from people. Like I'm just seeing a lot of people just getting popular. That is actually positive. Some guy who is very tall and giant is just starting to get over the internet and all that. That's really something very positive. It means they're appreciating some kind of things. This kind of things can help people learn that we can use this kind of content. There are values that we that exist in our society that we don't recognize. So if we use it positively, we influence people in a positive way. So those who are on top must really be subsidized in a manner we give them really high quality knowledge to deliver those kind of things. Yeah, and please, Kofi, can you repeat? I lied slightly the second question. I didn't really get well.
Okay, Mr. Bell, thank you so much for the response
I'm
to
really
the
sorry.
first question. I think it makes a lot of sense. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the second question was on the algorithm that is being used to promote
Sorry,
ADS.
what? Sorry, what?
Algorithm.
Algorithm that is being used to promote
Logarithm.
ADS and also, yes, not logarithm.
Algorithm.
Okay, that
Sorry,
is
can you simplify the term in a manner that I can understand it very well? Pronunciation
okay.
or something might get to know.
Okay, so creators, particularly those who use ADS on their
Ah,
videos, and also they target particular audience. And
yeah,
this
yeah,
comes
sure.
as sometimes they are not ADS that you subscribe to, but it pops up to you because it is being used in like this is for target people from Rwanda. Then you find the content are even translated in Kinyarwanda kind of way that entice the person if maybe you are not aware of what, and this can lead people to even engaging in stuff that are not really helpful, or even losing their personal information to those people, and it becomes an issue. So now my question revolves like, how can this be handled professionally in terms of of maybe government officials and the institution coming in to handle that, because I know that if you go to Germany, for instance, the content that you see on YouTube and some of the videos you get, when you come to Africa, you search for the same content, you are not able to find them. Similarly, when you are in Japan, you log on to YouTube or any other social media, the information that pops up to you are totally different from what when you are in Rwanda you receive. This is based on experience. And so I want to know how this can be handled and ensure that it promotes more so whatever.
I think it's
Thank you.
a very simple question to respond to. In a manner, I just like highlight it in this way. And this is perhaps that's something we can do as individuals. Perhaps it's a responsibility of the government to do like what they regulate. For example, I want just to tell you that when we are in Rwanda, we don't really get ads from YouTube. YouTube is quite restricted in Rwanda, right? But if you come
Yes.
to Japan, perhaps every song I play, if I don't subscribe to YouTube, I'll get the ads. Ads interrupt what I do. And this ads like kind of advertisement and all these other issues. Geographical locations and the regulations of each country play a roles on what kind of content really is promoted in this kind of. Although these issues of human rights things are also, it's part of what we do, but it still like push some other content which looked so peculiar in some other aspect, for example, in some countries, they don't want some other things. For example, in the Middle East, perhaps you might not use other kind of like an adult kind of inappropriate videos and all that. But if you go to other countries, perhaps laws accept them to upload those kind of things, and then young people get obsessed on all these kind of things. And perhaps what you watch is actually today generates the familiar content on the next. If you go to YouTube normally, I mean YouTube or even Facebook, if you watch something related to something below after that will come. So it depends on what you go to do. It's about the discipline thing. And that discipline is an origin from education you acquire from the country you live in terms of origin, because if the content is restricted in Rwanda, perhaps you cannot use it. You cannot use something which is not. It's perhaps beyond our capacity. But what I can say is that the role of young people is to focus and engineer what best they can do to consume the best content. And the other thing is the responsibility now. So what you do matters to you. What you don't do, yeah. Liberty is also another issue that comes in. So that is it. Yeah. But laws, like more regulations and framework is required to restrict some content. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. Mr. Kofi, are you answered?
Yeah, that is what I wanted to hear, because I wanted us to take it from a policy perspective, because it seems in Africa, when it's come to technology and content being uploaded, particularly on our internet system or web system, content that are being uploaded, there are more flexibility, there are limited regulations, and therefore it gives the opportunity to content creators to just upload any video that they want to upload without any proper regulations. And therefore it leads to a lot of things that are not appropriate in my thinking. So I want maybe policymakers to rethink how these things are being handled, so that we can have a safe internet where people can use it to learn, where people can use it to explore opportunities properly, where people can also use it as a place to grow or in practical skills. A simple example is that in China, they created TikTok, but if you see their TikTok, particularly what content that are created there, mostly the content that are promoted in their algorithm is typically pertaining to science and so more. Forget about the limited ones that you see them creating a funny videos, but majority of the content that are really emphasize and also want it to trend as those related to STEM. But here we allow any content on TikTok and other social media. So it's a big problem, but it all revolves around policy. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much. I
additionally,
understand what you said.
sorry,
Yes, please.
additionally, like Kofi, I think TikTok is one example of a developer applications that try to restrict some other inappropriate content. By the way, even here, if you just like you remove your shirt like this at the moment, they start to give you warning. So it looks to them very appropriate. I'm telling you the truth. Sometimes many accounts has been banned because of that. But when you look at Facebook and other applications, they really don't pay attention to that. So TikTok, I think, I mean, that means that developers must also reflect to the inappropriate characters of consumers' content here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. In other words, you're saying we need to be so very deliberate as far as that situation is concerned. Mr. Samuel, kindly come and answer Kofi's question, but I'd like to add one question from Gidudu Andrew, who is asking, what are the first signs that conflict is starting? What are the first signs that show that conflict is starting?
So Mary, I think that question came when I was still presenting, and I was just going to take my time to finish my presentation, then come back and reply to that question, because it took me back to when we were the young people in Kenya, me being Agenza. It took me back to that moment when we were demonstrating because even before the demonstration started, the young people of Kenya started tweeting and started talking on social media, telling the president, hello, His Excellency, we want you to reject the finance bill. And then when they were still continuing with the process of trying to make the finance bill a success, then that's when the youth started demonstrating, and everyone was talking about they will not believe, because the young people in Kenya right now, which is the Generation Z, they've been looked upon as being very lazy and very weak and not really in tune with what's happening in the country. So it was really a live moment for all the young people. Me being one of them, I was in the streets demonstrating just to show that you know what, you guys really underestimated us. So how to know that our conflict is going to start? When there's no communication. You see, when there's no communication between one party and the other, we are talking, but we are not really understanding each other. That's one of the signs to show that this is a conflict about to start. And then another thing is historical grievances. When there is long-lasting issues, and then they might just resurface and escalate real quick. That is also one of the reasons that we can say that, oh, okay, this is a conflict about to happen. Because you see, even in Kenya, we have so much trauma. We deal with a lot of tribalism amongst each other for reasons I have never known. And you see, that trauma can really start conflicts. When we were talking about why do we always have this tribe as presidents, and these other tribes, we've never had a president, that also can result to conflict. And then another thing is tension and disputes. When there's increased hostility and disagreements between groups and individuals, even when you went on Twitter, you could see the difference between the ruling party and the opposition party. Over the conversation that were happening on social media, you could tell that this is from the ruling party, this is a supporter of the ruling party, and this is a supporter of the opposition party. And also another thing, when there's resources scarcity, if we remember during COVID, in my country, there was literally the rich people in the supermarkets trying to buy everything, because the country has said, okay, we are going to have a lockdown because this is a very deadly virus, and it's a killer virus. So we are going to put the country on lockdown. You cannot travel. So if you need to travel, you need to travel now back to your home. Nobody is going to be working. So everyone is trying to book a bus. Everyone is trying to book a plane, book a train back home. You see, when the resources are scarcity, there is going to be conflict. Other people, the rich people who are trying to buy everything from the supermarket, leaving nothing for the people who want to get money before they can buy anything. Also, political changes, shifts in leadership and policy can lead to unrest. when the young people in Kenya, the Gen Zs and the millennials were talking about reject the finance bill, please, Mr. President, reject the finance bill, and the government was not doing anything about it, we started saying now Ruto must go. You see, now that itself can show you that there is about to be a conflict. So just to answer your question, you really can tell when there is going to be it's about to be a conflict. And even parents were telling, my parents called me and told me, okay, there's about to be a demonstration, come back home. So you can tell when you're keen enough, you can tell what's happening in the surroundings. I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fatuma, for taking that up. I need to mute this person that is, okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Fatuma, for taking that up. Mr. Samuel, kindly come and answer Kofi's question, but also give us your concluding remarks as we conclude this conference. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. And very great insights from Ms. Fatuma. And then, sorry, I used the other gentleman's name. Sorry, Arusia. Yeah, Arusia. Exactly. Especially on the tech.
You can call me Abel.
implication.
That's okay.
Abel, okay.
No,
That's
easy.
much easier. Easier all the time to speak. But yeah. The insights on social media, I'm very enthusiastic about social media myself, and so it's a very key area I follow so much. And it's true. I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from. We even joke about some of these things. There are memes on social media where you find people praising violence and joking about violence. And in as much as you might find the fun side of it, at times, if we don't pay attention to the very important aspects of peace that we are supposed to maintain or promote, some of these things can gradually seep into our minds and hearts and lead us on to the situations that Ms. Fatuma just spoke about. But yeah, the question was on how certain bribes are channeled as charity work. And so in as much as people are portraying themselves as charitable organizations or generous organizations trying to promote peace, I think it's more about the motive behind some of these initiatives, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that is it. That is some portray charity, meanwhile they are not really from a genuine source, and at the end we consider it as a peace initiative or doing peace work, which is not really how it's supposed to be. So now how can we, or which practical advice will you give to young people here or those watching from YouTube?
Sure. Yes. Speaking about young people also in this context, you find how easy it is to lead young people on if something needs to be done. I mean, we are boisterous, we are energetic, we are always eager to do something, to move, to cause about or bring about some change. What Ms. Fatuma was talking about in Kenya is very clear for us to all see. It happens the same way in DR Congo and all. Our minds should go to one point, and one very important point. At times, we think it's the responsibility of the government to promote peace, whereas we don't realize the fact that as individuals, we also play a part in promoting peace. And so if there are perceived injustice, if there are histories of conflict and all that, do we recognize that it begins with us as individuals? If we have gotten to that stage, if we are gradually getting to that stage, it won't happen that maybe an organization portraying as a peace promoting one would deceptively come around, do whatever they want to do, maybe do some optics and all that, and then leave without actually imbibing peace within people. Yes, once they are a charity organization, there is very little we can do than to expect that maybe the law works very well to actually check on some of these things. But in the final analysis, who takes up the arms, who take up the machetes, who takes up the guns and all that to go and get involved in conflicts? Exactly. And so young people, whether through social media, whether through TV, whether through radio, whatever, we should make sure that we are overcoming that bad influences with a good message. And yes, Ghana Young Leaders Foundation, this peace conference is a very, very unique one. I'm shocked it's the first time I'm actually coming across this, but as far as initiatives that promotes peace is concerned, this is a very, very unique platform, especially for young people, to bring their minds to very important facts that inure to peace, and make sure that we are opening our eyes to the realities that it also begins with us. I would also repeat, if there aren't very trustworthy, respectable mediators to promote peace, at times it's also a very huge challenge. I should have confidence in the chief within my community. I should have confidence in that police person in my community to put his foot down and say, this is not right, and then promote justice. However, if that confidence is lost, maybe due to continued bouts of injustices, and yeah, this also, the bribes come in, people being partial, people being cheated, and it's overlooked for so long. You mentioned it's one of the first signs that a conflict is brewing. You can't continue to do that and expect whoever is at the receiving end to be quiet forever. Even the most peace-loving person would get provoked at a certain point in time. And so, yes, once we are observing things like that, injustices that are going on, young people should be empowered enough to reach out to agencies. For instance, the United Nations set up the peace councils, United Nations Peace Council. Even if you are aware of these avenues, these remedies to treating or working on some of these injustices that are being portrayed, it helps to continue to be peaceful, even when you are being continually treated badly or maltreated. Yes, you can't keep quiet forever, but if we are all going to commit to making sure that we play our part in promoting peace, we ourselves are agents of peace. We should even take a pledge that we are agents of peace and remind ourselves daily, on a daily, that we need to be peace-loving persons. We need to be promoting peace. I'm sure with that kind of a trend, it will be much easier to continue to champion the issue of peace, even though there will be some people, there will definitely be bad nuts who would not want to see their efforts succeed. Thank you, everyone.
I also want to add on to what you said, yeah? This year, you see on social media, we see Ghanaians and Nigerian bantering each other. And it's really fun to watch, yeah? And you see Kenyans and Tanzanians bantering each other. And it's really fun to watch, it's a fun moment. But something about 1 month ago happened that really saddened me. When South Africans and Nigerians were bantering, it was not even banter. It started becoming as if it was violence towards each other. And that is really sad, because as we are working towards creating a borderless Africa, we need to understand that we are literally the same person. I went to Namibia this year, and they were asking me, "Are you from Botswana?" I'm like, "No, I've never even been to Botswana." And others were asking me, "Are you South African?" "You look South African." And when I was in Ethiopia, they thought I was one of them, because we look like the same person. As young people in Africa, we need to know that there's no difference between a Kenyan, a Tanzanian, and someone from West Africa, or a Nigerian man and someone who lives in Nairobi. We are literally the same people. So we need to use social media for the good and not for the bad. Bantering each other, it's okay. It's a fun moment. That's what brothers and sisters do every day. But it shouldn't get to a point that it becomes extremely toxic, the way it turned to, you see, I don't know if you guys saw what was happening between South Africans and Nigerians. That was really sad.
Yeah, I know.
It's really sad.
It's sad. The onset of social media has promoted a lot of some of these things, and it's sad that at times it goes to the extreme, and it's really out of the control of some of us. But this is also bringing my mind to a certain fact. If there are a lot more initiatives that seek to bring people together, even if it's friendly banter, but It's maybe a hackathon, a tech-thon, something that brings countries together as international partners who share common interest areas. If there are a lot of these things, we see how the World Cup is, the Champions League is. All of a sudden, I don't know who is from Kenya, I don't know who is from Nigeria, I don't know. So long as they support, yes, my darling club Chelsea. Like we are cool and we are friends and we are chatting, and there are so many subject areas we touch on which brings joy. I mean, I could refer the person to an incident that happened in, say, 2016. Yeah, I remember that goal. I remember that. If there are a lot of these things, common flaws, common grounds on which people can share interests that are cheerful, interests that are endearing to joy, it's easier to engage them on that front. I mean, nobody gets up in the morning and says, who am I going to engage in conflict with today? But then there are actions or things that lead to it. It could be an innocent remark from somebody who is ignorant. But then if I can look beyond that ignorant remark because I share this common ground with people in general from this region or people in general from that region, I would even say, hey, you, what you said is not right. I am Ghanaian, but I'm not supporting you on this particular issue. Please cut it off. Don't even bring this up at all. Or I'm Nigerian, but I'm not going to support you as my brother because what you did is wrong. If we ourselves are checks among ourselves, said that as peers, we can keep ourselves in check. At times, that also helps. We will need the government to come and intervene in that situation because we have all tried to find common grounds on which we all share very happy mutual interests on. Yes.
Yeah. So as I finish what I was saying, I wanted to say a big shout out to AYLF for creating these platforms for us young African leaders to be able to connect. And I hope maybe in the near future they can create something physical so we can really get to meet each other in person, whether it's going to be in Kenya or whether it's going to be in Ghana. It's really going to be good. And also let's take this opportunity to link with each other on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, so we can always get to share ideas and policies and to see the best way on how to promote sustainable peace in our communities. So with what I've said, really thank you guys. I am so happy to be here. I don't take it for granted, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My speakers forgot me. They completely forgot about me. And
I love Uganda so much. I was in Uganda last year in Kenya, and they treated me so well. I love
you guys
Uganda.
completely forgot that I am the moderator. But anyway, it makes my work easier. Thank you so much for those wonderful answers, and it's so engaging and inspiring. I believe that every one of us who is viewing or participating in this conference gets to learn something and at least do something in our communities. Now, before we go, I talked about a performer who has been being disturbed by issues with connection and electricity, you know, our African problems. So please allow me welcome Mr. Muhammad Awal Zakari with a poem about unity and peace. Mr. Muhammad, take it away.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please.
Hello.
Yes, Mohammed.
I am Muhammad Awal Zakari. The title of my poem is Agent of Peace on Hearts. Here it goes. When the world failed to knock on my door to inform me of the tax at home and abroad, I patted my conscience about to soul and kick against the news that sullied its boat, that peace is might and absent the fall. No, peace is might, and I will show the road to avoid the traffic that caused the go and uncover all eyes to see it broad. For I am an agent of peace on hearts, a self called to call and lead all hearts to be of peace by peace and for peace. For I am an an agent of peace on earth. Thank you very much for listening. This poem is all about, it's about a powerful message about hope and determination to strive for peace in the world. I use vivid imagery and strong language to convey the urgency and importance of working toward peace. Thank you very much for listening.
Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. Lastly, we've heard from you, and it's a beautiful poem. I hope it inspires us as well. Mr. Abel, I want to invite you to give your closing remarks because I believe the rest of the two speakers have given their closing remarks. Kindly come and give us your closing remarks or your call to action to young people who are listening to us. Thank you.
Hey, the closing remarks. Okay, thank you everyone for this opportunity. I think for me, it's now time for young people to do something that can contribute to the peace. You know, what we need in this world perhaps is only the energy, the attitudes of the young people towards contributing to peace building. Rather than that, we will not really achieve our goal. So young people, please, let's do something for ourselves. Let's start it by ourselves and let's find the peace that we are looking by ourselves because nobody will give it to us. It's us that have to fight, change our attitudes, and improve our ways, approaches, and how we can deal with our societal conflict. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It is our turn to turn the world to the beautiful, peaceful world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lopil, and it's been a pleasure having you here tonight. Allow me invite Mr. Kofi to come and give us closing remarks from African Young Leaders Foundation, but also the Peace Building Department of African Young Leaders Foundation. Mr. Kofi, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mary, for the good moderation. And I want to also thank our speakers for the insightful messages. I had one last comment to Mr. Samuel, but I will keep it short. I just want to mention it. If he has ever heard about the phrase, I don't want peace, I want violence. If you have ever heard about that phrase,
I want problem always.
I want problem. Yeah, that is a very that's really an interesting message that is very common among young people now. And in as much as we are talking about things like this, we need to also see how such ways can be limited because many people use it as even a joke, but it means a lot of things. It has a lot of weight. so
Peace is
basically
overrated.
I don't want to say anything much, but firstly, I want to thank each and every one of you, particularly from the Executive Committee of African Young Leaders Foundation. And we believe that this 2 days has been a very practical and insightful initiative that brought together young people from different parts of the continent and also outside the continent. So without much ado and saying much, first we have learned about so many things that are eye-opening to some of us that are new, but what we wish from the young people is to take this initiative, to take the message out and practice them in their life, and also ensure that they make good use of whatever they have gotten from here. We are all part of the world, and the little things that we do today can have a meaningful impact tomorrow. And in the morning when I read about the song that was performed, the interpretation was interesting and compared to how it was performed here. And if you have time, please go and check the song. The inspiration was a little action, but later it turns out to be something bigger that was adapted at the country level. So it doesn't matter where we come from, it doesn't matter the community we find ourselves. Any little initiative that we do today, any little seed we sow today, it will have a greater impact tomorrow. And therefore, the knowledge that we have gotten from here, it shouldn't just be an online communication, it shouldn't just be from here, or it shouldn't just be the certificate that AYLF would give to you, but ensure that you are living the knowledge, and you are also practicing some of the things you have acquired from this conference. So thank you to all these speakers, those who joined yesterday and those who are currently here. And thanks to all the participants across the country who joined us, both on YouTube and also from the Zoom room. We are so glad. And in fact, our main event is coming on next year. It will be in-person activity. It will be in Ghana, of course. We are coming home soon, so the Ghanaians should expect to receive us, and we are coming soon. So, Miss Ramadan, your wish will finally be answered soon. Don't worry. So, thank you, everyone, and I wish you all happy International Day of Peace. May this year be a blossom for all of us, and as we reflect on the peace that we currently have, or we currently hope for to have, may our initiative not be something that will diminish, but will keep illuminating and also bringing in more peace. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi. I'm seeing a lot of concerns to do with the presentations. Kindly, please note that we will share the presentations in our AYLF network WhatsApp group. So if you're not in that group, find ways of joining it. Otherwise, as we conclude, I would like to implore each and every one of you who has attended this 2-day conference, that you have to reflect on the insights, the ideas, and the stories that have been shared in these 2 days. And we hope that you feel inspired and empowered and ready to take action, concrete steps towards creating a peaceful Africa. My deepest gratitude goes towards our very active guest speakers who forgot about me at a moment. But it was amazing to have you, and thank you so much for sacrificing your time to share with us your ideas and perspectives about how we can foster a peaceful Africa. Thank you so much to our viewers on Zoom. Thank you so much for your active participation. On YouTube, I have not forgotten you. Thank you so much for always being here when we need you. And my name is Mary Joyce Takali, the Deputy Executive Secretary of African Young Leaders Foundation. Kindly follow all of us, our guest speakers. Follow me on LinkedIn. Follow African Young Leaders Foundation on all social media platforms. One last thing I'd like to say is that peace starts with each and every one of you. Happy International Day of Peace. Have a great evening.